Good afternoon. My name is Greg Gorick, and I am the Chief of Police for the Haines City Police Department. The reason I've invited you here today is that we had a situation that occurred early this morning in the Oakland area of Haines City, and we wanted to advise our citizens and the public of Polk County what exactly had transpired. Around 1:45 this morning, one of our local residents arrived home with his girlfriend and their little puppy. They were approaching their house. Nonchalantly, were taking care of what puppies do in the front yard whenever they approach the residence, walked in the front door, and as they turned on the lights, they were startled to find two individuals inside of their residence. Now you can imagine, you don't expect this, you walk into your residence and all of a sudden there's these two strangers standing inside your kitchen and within feet of you, almost face to face. Well, both individuals were scared for their lives. The gentleman, who is a licensed carry and concealed weapons permit holder in the state of Florida, fearing for the safety of himself as well as his girlfriend, drew his firearm and fired 5 shots at the suspect who was closest to him. He then was able to grab his girlfriend and the puppy, run outside, get into his vehicle, and then leave the scene. Now he immediately dialed 911 to notify law enforcement of what had transpired and headed towards the Haines City Police Department. We were able to, and when I say we, officers of the Haines City Police Department were able to intercept the homeowner as he was traveling to the police department and get him stopped. While one officer interviewed him to find out what had happened, the other officers responded to his address, which was on 7th Street, within the northeast portion of the Haines City response area. When officers arrived, they searched the house, weren't able to locate any suspects, but they were able to locate 5 shell casings, as well as droplets of blood which led outside of the house. Figuring that the suspects had fled on foot, we had our K-9 officer, Corporal Elam and K-9 Cash, initiate a track of the suspects. They were able to run a track to what is a common city park known as Boomerang Park. When they came upon a pavilion, underneath the pavilion they located a subject who was later identified as one of the suspects and found that he had 4 bullet wounds, 2 in the upper chest and 2 in his lower extremities, his legs. Now immediately at that point, the officers, even though this was a felon who had been illegally inside someone's house, immediately changed focus, changed gears, and went from a search and locate and apprehend to saving this individual's life. Officer Feliciano, who was accompanying the K-9 officer, immediately started to render first aid to the suspect, trying to apply direct pressure to at least 1 or 2 of his wounds. Seeing that due to the number of wounds he was unable to do it himself, he summoned additional officers to come in off perimeter. Sergeant Stablino and Officer Dominguez were able to also assist with applying direct pressure to wounds, and then finally Officer Justin Vasquez, using a tourniquet, was able to stop some of the blood loss from his lower extremities. These 4 officers were able to save this individual's life. They were able to stop the bleeding enough so that when he was finally airlifted to a trauma center, Osceola Regional Medical Center, that at this moment he is still alive. He is critical but stable, but he is still alive today. The subject who entered the residence that we now currently have in custody but is still being treated at Osceola Regional Medical Center is one Tyreek Washington. He's a 27-year-old male, born in 1995, who is currently saying that he is homeless, but he is from the Haines City area. Now, he is no stranger to law enforcement. He does have a criminal history. He has been arrested and convicted for petty theft in 2021, 4 burglary conveyances in 2020, petty theft in 2020, 4 counts, grand theft in 2015, as well as loitering and prowling, resisting without violence, and also some narcotics charges. The homeowner has been very cooperative. He immediately and voluntarily surrendered his weapon as well as produced his carry and concealed weapons permit. He answered all questions that were asked of him as well as his girlfriend. And the investigation is currently ongoing, trying to identify the second suspect in this case. One should expect that if you're brazen enough to enter into someone's residence and it is not yours with intent to commit an unlawful act, there may be repercussions. We live in Florida, and more so we live in Polk County, and most people are armed. Okay? That's probably the logical conclusion. If you break into somebody's house, you might end up getting shot by the homeowner. Additionally, the suspect was found to be in possession of property that belonged to the victim. They found out why they were treating him. So obviously he'll be facing charges of burglary to a residence as well as grand theft. Do we have any questions?
So this is essentially a case of stand your ground so that the homeowner is not facing any potential charges for this?
That is correct. Now, of course, anytime we conduct an investigation, we go into it with an open mind. We look at it from both sides, but based on the totality of the evidence at this time, it does appear to be a case of stand your ground. We will, of course, at the conclusion of the investigation, present all facts to the state attorney's office if there's any differing opinion, but at this time, the homeowner is not under arrest, and it does appear to be a case of that.
Do you know the identity of the second suspect, or is that still something the investigators are trying to figure out?
Currently, we do not know the identity of the second suspect. We are still trying to determine who that suspect is. If anybody watching this newscast is aware of who the second suspect is and would like to provide information, they can do so anonymously through Crime Stoppers.
So how far was the park where they found the suspect from the gentleman's home? How far apart did this guy live?
I would estimate the distance of the park from the residence of about 100 yards or within 100 yards, or at least a portion of. It wasn't too far, but it wasn't right next door, literally.
It was essentially like a drop, like blood, Karen's kind of tracked the blood drops to get to the house.
There was probably blood drops, but being that it was dark at 1:45 in the morning, the canine, using their superior sense of smell, probably tracked the suspect's scent from the house.
Any relationship between the homeowner and these suspects?
No, sir. The suspect in this case is a complete stranger to the homeowner, as well as a girlfriend.
How old is the homeowner and the girlfriend? You know, probably can't tell us their name, but how old is the gentleman and the homeowner?
They're both adults. I could get you the age after this, but they're both adults. They've asked not to be identified at this time for obvious reasons.
They're still a little bit, obviously, shaken up by, you know, as anyone would be turning on the lights and seeing to be.
Yes, sir. In fact, this morning they were still very shaken up. It's not something that either of them wanted to be involved in, but they felt they had to save their lives and allow them the opportunity to escape from the residence.
Any weapons found on Mr. Washington?
No. Search of his property and a search of the track along the route recovered no weapons between the residence and where he was found.
Did the homeowner fire immediately upon turning on the lights and seeing the two, or was there any kind of, you know, back and forth verbally before that happened?
The victim really cannot recall. As you know, in a situation like that, a lot of times adrenaline takes over. He may recall at a later time, but this morning it was he basically had some holes as far as, you know, the time lapse, how long it occurred. You know, with the situation has unraveled for him, you know, very quickly.
Can you characterize the property that was found on Mr. Washington?
It was some jewelry. Any other questions? I greatly appreciate you coming, and thank you for being here.